All right, another brief video just to talk you through one of these chapters on perspectives on argument, and we'll talk about types of proof. So, it always tells me that. All right, so the traditional categories of proof um, are logos, ethos, and pathos. And those are just Greek words that have to do with logic, credibility, and emotion. So those are the three basic ways we try to appeal to our audience. And then you have, a description of each one. Logical proof, that is going to be, as far as your writing, you want to use mostly logical proof because that is just the strongest form of argument. Um, Ethos has to do with basically the arguer. So that will be you. When you are writing your argumentative paper, you have to establish what is called ethos, which is basically you're going to show me that you are a competent, fair minded, reasonable person. And the way you do that is a couple of different ways, mostly as a writer through the quality of your writing. If you're someone who has really poor grammar, and doesn't follow instructions and doesn't format their paper correctly, well, then you have poor ethos. I'm much less likely to believe your argument if, I don't think you're a competent person because you couldn't follow the directions in formatting your paper, if that makes sense. And then emotional proof can be used to an extent. You want to be careful of relying too much on emotional proof. Like I said, it has its place. I feel like in a paper like Essay 2, a good place for the emotional appeal is introduction and conclusion, or maybe one or the other. Because that's when you're trying, especially introduction, maybe that's when you're drawing your audience in. However, if your whole paper is based upon emotional persuasion, then it's just not going to be very sound. And so then the book has these little quizzes, and these are nice. You can take these just to kind of get some practice. Let's see. Now, there are different types of logical proof, and your book uses the acronym SICDADS, and so that's a good way to help you remember it. I'm not going to talk through each of these just for sake of time, and because I really do believe you guys can read this stuff and assimilate the information on your own. But just be aware that SICDADS stands for sign, induction, cause, deduction, analogy. Let's see, I can't even remember all of them myself. Cause, deduction, analogy, definition, and statistics. I forgot the last two. So make sure you understand those. And then they give you a quiz on that, so that can be helpful. Ethos, we talked about that. This is just basically more explanation of what ethos means. There's a little quiz on that. Pathos, I did want to talk about the two types of emotional proof. There is motivational proofs and value proofs. So motivational proofs have to do with what people want, and this is the basis of a lot of commercials. So you can see here advertisements and speeches by political candidates provide obvious examples of emotional proof. So they try to appeal to what you want in life. Everyone wants to look good, so if you buy this brand of clothing, then you will look good. And that's how they try to get you to buy their brand. And then value proofs have to do with, different things that we are expected to value. So this, like social justice issues, we value fairness, we value equality, we value freedom, that kind of thing. So it applies to those values. And so again, just make sure you understand all that. Take the little quiz. And then I did want to point out as well, this section on language, there is a little chart. What page is it on? Here it is. Box 6.1, a summary of language and style and argument. Just bookmark that. This is just a good little summary of the language you use to appeal to logic. You're going to use reasons, you're going to use the denotative meaning, so the dictionary meanings of words. You're going to use explanations, definitions, data and statistics, quotations. You're going to cite experts and authorities. So all those things, that's the language of appealing to logic. To develop ethos, you're going to use, this fair-minded presentation. You're going to use competent wording. You're going to use correct grammar. And all those things present you as a fair-minded, competent person, so your audience, so you gain trust from your audience. And then to appeal to emotion, you use this, vivid language. You focus more on buzzwords that are going to stir up emotions in people. You're going to tell stories and that kind of thing. So just bookmark this little box right here, especially when it comes time to study for test 2. Make sure that you understand how these fall into the different categories. And then again, make sure you understand, especially under the logical appeal, the logical proofs, each of those, what SICDADS stands for, that you understand sign, that you understand the difference between induction and deduction, that you understand, what it means to argue from definition and that kind of thing. So again, just want to give you a really quick overview of this chapter and kind of point out the important things that you need to know.